UnitedIn2012.com. The 2012 Values Survey by the Pew Research Center asked Americans 48 political value questions. UnitedIn2012.com arranged these 48 questions in descending order of the greatest percentage difference between the response of Democrats and Republicans. In this video, we are on issue number 3. And the number 3 issue with the largest percentage difference between Democrat and Republican response is to this statement: I am concerned about the government becoming too involved in health care. To the statement, I am concerned about the government becoming too involved in health care, there was an 82% percentage difference. 37% of Democrats were concerned about the government becoming too involved in health care, whereas 88% of Republicans were concerned. If we had a bridge that represented compromise, how much of the bridge would be left to begin to connect each side? Well, on this issue of health care, this bridge is largely out at 82%. Now, how a Democrat might think in key areas that go into forming their view on health care. On the logic side, they may say the ends justify the means, that sometimes individual rights need to be sacrificed for the greater good. So even though everyone is now forced to buy health insurance, this is an opportunity to better conditions for people in America. And some also claim that this will solve a quote-unquote free rider problem. Their view of capitalism and government is often that capitalism is the pursuit of greed and selfishness. I don't trust it. It is unfair and unequal, and they often see government as a force that can restore fairness and equality. Their perception of history could be capitalism and greed have created great inequalities and abuses in our society, and insurance companies have used such egregious tactics such as denying for pre-existing, charging women more than men, and dropping people for being sick. On the right side, their emotions may be that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poor, and it's not fair that we have all this wealth in America and only a few people and businesses have it. We have to fight every day for the oppressed and middle class. We all deserve the same quality health insurance. Their hopes, dreams, and goals often include progress, especially social progress, and change to more equal and fair outcomes. Their view of self and others is often helping others is fulfilling to me, and health care is a basic right. And at the heart of it all, many times the Democrats think, while I have some control of my life, society has a larger influence on if I succeed or fail, so the Democrat is very communally based. How a Republican might think in key areas that go into forming their view on health care. Their logic is such that the minority, the smallest minority on earth, is the individual, that individual rights are more important than collective rights. I should not be forced to buy health insurance just because I am alive. And where has socialized medicine ever worked? England and Canada's system, which is socialized medicine, cannot compare to the United States. Their view of capitalism and government is often the opposite of the Democrats. They do not see capitalism as the pursuit of greed and selfishness, but rather as the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. And they see government as often a suppressive force that should be limited, just as our founding fathers instructed. Their perception of history. Welfare countries have always gone bankrupt, and their standard of living is way below America's. Socialized medicine has always resulted in rationing and a poor health care system. than what we have in America. Their emotions would be something like the same people in charge of public bathrooms, public housing, the almost bankrupt post office, and the IRS are the people to whom we are handing 17% of our economy, and now more importantly, stand between me and my doctor. The Cleveland Clinic is an example of private medicine and healthcare, whereas the Veterans Administration is an example of government healthcare. Their view of self and others is often that helping myself and my family are important to me. That is why I work so hard. I should have the freedom to buy health insurance or not. Their hopes, dreams, and goals on this issue fix the abuses within the healthcare system without handing it completely over to the government, and finally target specific solutions instead of overhauling the finest healthcare in the world. And the heart of the Republican says, I am in charge of my life. Whether I fail or succeed is up to me. And as a summary, the Democrat, who says we as a society have a responsibility to help those in need, see this health care, which is also called the Affordable Care Act, as already beginning to end the worst insurance company abuses. They argue that since 2010, children with pre-existing conditions can no longer be denied insurance. The Affordable Care Act also provides tax cuts to small business to help offset the cost of employee coverage, and it provides tax credits to help families pay for insurance. It will lower costs for families and for businesses and for the federal government, they believe, citing that reducing our deficit by more than $1 trillion in the next 2 decades alone. And they conclude that capitalism cannot fix the healthcare system. Again, their overall impressions, the worst abuses of insurance companies are now being corrected. The Republican who believes this country was founded upon a limited federal government asks, where has socialized medicine ever worked without rationing? They say to argue a problem of basically 10 million working poor, we now force 310 million, that's all Americans, to carry and buy health insurance. They think the wealthy will be able to afford health insurance no matter what, that this will hit the middle class the hardest, that you are now forced to buy health insurance or pay a tax for something you didn't even buy. These costs can be enormous. They see this as disastrous at every level: financial, privacy, healthcare. All the power now flows to people who they perceive as lacking virtue, integrity, and prudence. This will force business with 50 or more employees to provide health insurance or pay a tax, and so this will cost many jobs. They are very concerned that it puts the government in charge of 17% of the American economy. The Democrat who says we as a society have a responsibility to help those in need see this as the worst abuses of the insurance companies now being corrected. The Republican who says this country was founded upon a limited federal government concludes that the same people in charge of public bathrooms are now in charge of my health, and that socialized medicine is a failure across the globe and throughout history.